But what the Board of Education, what we expect is going to happen, or anticipate will happen, is that in July 2019, that they will adopt a profile of a Virginia educator, a profile of a Virginia education leader, profile of a Virginia classroom. And we think about the implications. Let's just talk about the profile of a Virginia classroom. Once all of those pieces are together, and we talk about what do we need in a classroom, and the Board of Education truly adopts it or gives it their blessing or whatever the process, the approval process is, then it's going to have a ripple effect. Not only on how we write curriculum, how we assess, how we embed assessment in instruction versus seeing it as a separate event, how we work to remove, and I will tell you there's a lot of push and conversation and advocacy for removing more of the standardized SOL assessments, especially out of the high school arena, and working to have some either a statewide performance assessment in some areas, maybe hold on to an assessment, standardized assessment in the area of social sciences or history, but that there will be other ways to assess our children that measure growth. We just have to get good at it. And we're not going to get good at it because we go, boom, we're going to get good at it. This is the piece, this is the learning piece. So when I talk about the challenges and the exciting things in education, you, along with all of us, have a nice opportunity to, again, to really shape public education in Virginia. We really, really do. Legislators are looking to see how we're doing on their performance assessments. Are they really telling us something? So we together have to be learners and have to be willing to step into the gaps, and again, for all these kids. But these pieces right now have, for about, I'd say 8 to 10 months, had conversations across Virginia. I will tell you the other piece, the profile of a Virginia educator, profile of a Virginia education leader, both of those were being discussed in June of 2018 at William & Mary, and we invited higher ed institutions to come. Because if you think about it, the teacher prep programs and the prep programs across the state, there are 20 universities that have principal prep programs. They have to also change. They have to change how they get their people prepared to be a teacher or prepared to be an administrator. And I'm going to give you a real stark, it's a good stark example. I went to the University of Virginia, and that's where I had a degree in counseling, master's in counseling. My undergrad was at Radford University. I have early childhood. I love Radford. I love that school. They're only, see, I'm so old, there are only like 4 boys on campus. It was awesome. So then we were happy to see 8. So there you go. So, but seriously, great. I love that school. There, I was able to get an early childhood ed and a special ed endorsement in 4.5 years. And I just absolutely had a good experience. From there, went to teach, and then went to UVA to get a counseling degree, and then went right back in to get a degree in administration and supervision. My entire degree in administration and supervision, while it was very valuable and certainly has opened doors for things to happen, not for me personally, but for professional impact, that degree and the content and context of that degree is there's about that much that's relevant for today. Things like, don't mess up your activity funds if you're a principal. You got to know school law. You have to understand discipline processes and the law, those things. They're very different needs now, very different needs. And that's our point. Where are we learning? Where are we putting people in places where they can learn in a different way and learn different skill sets? And some of it, honestly, is not going to be taught from a textbook. It's going to be really, really learned from your experiences and your collaboration and your connection and your internships and those opportunities. Next steps. At the Department of Ed, performance-based assessments, cross-scoring events, now they call it performance assessments. Those kind of events will happen each summer. We have a professional learning network, and I will send the links to your superintendent And also to Shannon, I'll send those links so that they can send them out to you so that you can see where these are on the Department of Ed website. I've talked about the curriculum and the 5 C's being embedded, a balanced assessment model. That's what we're looking for. It's not that you throw all the standardized assessments out the window, but we have them in moderation and we make a good use of them. Standardized assessments are important, but it is not the gauge for how well your children are doing. Every one of you have had kids make great gains that can never be documented on a standardized assessment. I had a little boy named Brian. He used to cuss like a sailor. I put him on we had a little chart. That boy, he knew words I couldn't spell them. I didn't know what those words were, and I'm not kidding. He was 8 years old, and he would cuss. Well, it was a growth measure that he went from cussing 15 times a day to 8. And then he went from 8 to 3. So that's 15 a week. You think about it. So that's progress. Well, there's no standardized assessment that says bubble here if you've been cussing less. So that's my point. We have children who make great gains. We must celebrate those gains, and not to sugarcoat it, and not to challenge them and say, oh, sweet baby, that's good, you're done. It means, oh, let's see how we build forward from this. Like the mean teachers do. Okay. Accreditation is focused on continuous improvement, and if you're frustrated with some of those particular measures, that is a dynamic, truly a dynamic work in progress, because we have to, where we will be next year will be different, I believe, than where we are this year, because we're working through that. We're sort of building that plane while we're flying it. Professional learning, there are 3 things I want to tell you very, very quickly, and then we're going to start closing. BB&T, that's the bank, reached out to me last year and said, hey, we have an amazing leadership institute. We do it for big companies. We do it for corporate America, but we're willing to do it for building level principals free. I said, well, what's the focus? Could I come attend so I can know what you're talking about? She said, sure. So I went to the first session. It was all about self-awareness. It was one of the hardest things that I ever did. You had to do self-awareness inventories. You had to really look at yourself and why you are and who you are and why you lead like you do, because whether you have a title or not, you're leading every day. You're leading every day how you frame, how you speak about your children, your students. You lead every day in this community by how you speak about your community. You lead every day about how you circle around and maybe have a little fuss. You're leading. You're leading. So think about the leadership piece. Leadership Institutes just isn't about, here's how you schedule an elementary school schedule. Here's how you make sure you have common planning. It really is about how do you lead and support messy but innovative, disciplined change. So they're starting a second institute. The first institute in Virginia, they actually have an institute in Greensboro, North Carolina. Beautiful facility. We had 24 principals go from Virginia, getting ready to send a superintendent's memo out again, coming out to all the SUPs and the principals to let them know that we're going to start another one in April. Really, really powerful. Very, very powerful. VAS is looking at leadership institutes for superintendents to really help. There are quite a few across the state, but these have been revised. It's not the same old, so revised. VASCD, Learning Forward, CERN, Virginia SCL, used to be VISA out of UVA, is now Virginia SCL. Looking at pedagogy, best practice, student-centric. Is there anybody here who remembers the best practice centers across Virginia? I do. With the changes in early childhood ed, I don't know how familiar you are with this, with the changes in early childhood ed, meaning that the Department of Ed will take on a lot of that responsibility, pull in Department of Social Services, look at regulatory impact, etc. It's a good thing. It's a really, really a good thing. Be a bit more connected for any of our children who pre-K, who are not even stepping into your school yet, daycare centers, etc., that there'd be, it doesn't mean that everything becomes academic, it becomes very kid-centric. Our kids need to play and explore and have resources. With that, with those elementary pieces are brick and mortar centers across Virginia. And one of the things that Dr. Lane has spoken very openly about is how do we take those and they become, don't have to be best practice centers again, but how do they become hubs of resources for all of our school divisions? So that every time there's something awesome going on, people from Southwest Virginia aren't having to drive all the way to Williamsburg to get to it. You know, how can we bring it to you and really staff it well? So those are the conversations that are going on right now, and I believe it will happen. Virginia SEL, we're pushing out a SOOPS memo next Friday. How many of you have read Ted Dintersmith's book, What Schools Could Be? It's fabulous. It's a fabulous book. He is a thought leader. He's so bright about how things could be. He's going to partner with Virginia SEL, James Madison University is going to be a partner in Department of Ed, and we're going to host what we call an Innovation Summit in March. And this is what I want you to listen real carefully to. We're going to invite people to bring teams. Your team could be from a school. Your team could be a couple school divisions together. Your team could be however you want it to be. It could be a regional team. And your superintendent can help make that happen. But we're going to have a 3-year plan to look at whole school change. How do you bring community members in? How do you bring higher ed in? It's a nice opportunity coming. So the good news is all of this stuff will be valuable when we latch onto it together, because we must do these things together. And it can't just come in a memo and say, do this. And with that, I want to thank you, because you have a few minutes before you have to go to the next session, but I want to see if I can remember this really cool point. It's short, so don't sweat it. So, it goes like this. Isn't it strange that princes and kings and clowns that caper in sawdust rings and common folk like you and me are builders for eternity? To each is given a list of rules and a shapeless mass and a bag of tools, and each must build, whether we're thrown a stumbling block or a stepping stone. I love that point. That's your work. It is for every kid. Bite your lip right here. Remember the lady on the church steps? Bite your lip. And that little kid comes in, you say, good morning, I'm so glad to see you. And he goes, why did I miss you? Bite your lip. Meet him at the door. And knowing, maybe in a little teeny part of your heart, you didn't really miss him either. But the truth is, you have been given an amazing opportunity to impact the lives of children for generations. And we can do amazing work in Virginia with the likes of you. And I am honored to be here. So happy New Year. You got a break, and thank you.